Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. This is Amy Jo.
Good. Hi, Amy Jo.
How you doing?
Great. Thank you.
Good to hear you, Georgie. Hi, Gladys. Can't hear you for some reason. Oh, well. I see you. All right. I am going to jump in. There is a lot I want to cover tonight. So welcome to Module 5 of Going All the Way. So tonight, I want to talk about a bunch of things, some really rich things. It's going to be very helpful to be able to see. So I think Georgie can see. We just can't see her, if I recall. So, okay. So we're going to talk a bit about magnificent obsessions tonight. We're going to talk about how we stop ourselves from getting to where we want to go. I know that many of you have been struggling because you're coming up against your resistance, you're coming up against your terror barriers, and this is a normal part of the process. And so I'm going to talk about what that is and how that works tonight. I know we talked a little bit about that in one of our last couple of classes. So I've given you some handouts, and I'm going to show you some images and things tonight that I think will be helpful. And I want to really encourage you to keep going. Because the problem is that most people give up when they don't see what they think they should be seeing, when they think they should be seeing it, how they think they need to manifest it, they give up, okay? So that is your subconscious mind getting stuck, and you have to interrupt that. So we're going to talk about why we go there, why the subconscious mind goes there tonight, and how to continue to stay focused so that you don't allow your subconscious mind to control you. So yes, so we're going to talk about also how to make decisions tonight, and how to recognize opportunities, because many of us don't say yes to the opportunities that are right before us. And when we say yes to the right opportunities, that's when things open up in our lives that we didn't even know were possible. And I've watched some of you in this class not say yes to opportunities. So every one of us has opportunities before us all the time that we can be seizing, ignoring, not taking advantage of, or really maximizing. And so that is a big part of how we create what we want to create. So let's jump in and talk a bit about subconscious programming. As I said in our last class, your sexuality is the core of your power to create what you want in your life, right? It's energetic. It is in all of your body. It is essential to your full becoming. So I want to talk more tonight about the role of the subconscious and that subconscious programming a little bit more. So the subconscious mind wants you to be distracted. Remember this. That is part of the way it is designed to keep you on pace with the programming that exists within your subconscious mind, which is not the programming we want to be led by, right? There's other motivations in the subconscious that are not what we want to have running the show. So the subconscious mind is not a bad thing. It is designed the way it's designed so that when it gets programmed, it will carry out that programming, right? We don't have to trigger it. It just does it. So it is really magnificent, and it is fundamental to the more life concept that we have talked about. Now, the problem is that it can't control what programming gets into it and what programming doesn't, right? Specifically before the age that our consciousness really starts to develop, which is primarily in our first 7 years of life, as we've talked about. So by the time a person becomes aware of their own consciousness, the programming is already there, right? It's already there. So there's already this whole subconscious foundation that's been built. And so now we're aware of our consciousness, but we're seeing through a filter, right? We're seeing through that subconscious filter. And we don't realize that we're seeing through a filter. And that's a problem because the filter is designed to take whatever programming is in there and to keep spitting it out day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, in order to keep us on track. And most people do not even realize that this is happening. And so the problem is that we are trained to experience our life through our five senses, right? So we see, we hear, we smell, we taste, we touch. And we fall into this trap that everything that is happening around us that we can hear, see, smell, taste, touch is fixed and it's real. And it's not just real, but it's fixed like, this is the way it is. This is my experience. I see it. This is the real reality, right? When in fact, it's what we're seeing through our filter in any given moment. So we're creating that moment in a particular way through a particular filter. So manifestation is not something that you have to learn. It is something that you already do. You manifest all the time. All the time. All of us do. So sometimes we manifest tragedy. Sometimes we manifest miracles, wealth, poverty, success, celebration, love, joy, right? Illness. So that manifestation is entirely dictated by the programming of our subconscious mind. And so the key is to learn to think the way you need to think in order to control your manifestations, because you're just doing it, right? So if you're sitting there all day long thinking, I'm so ugly, I'm so unlovable, no one's ever going to love me, I'm never going to find love, you're going to experience that in your life. You're going to create that in your life. You may not be consciously sitting there saying, I am manifesting not being loved, right? I don't think many people would do that. So you're not consciously sitting there doing that, but that is what is happening. Okay? So the universe, right? God, goddess, creator, gave you the power of being in control. And the universe will manifest whatever you dictate to be manifested in your life. So if you are walking around believing in some kind of divine intervention that does not align with your own will and your own power, you've got this wrong. You've got this wrong. Someone just today said, I'm giving up on my business. This is, clearly it's not meant to be. The universe isn't working with me on this. So clearly it's not meant to happen. And I wrote her back and I said, you are the source. You are the source. The universe doesn't decide, oh, you don't get to have a business. You're not cut out for that. The universe is going to support you to do whatever you set your mind to doing. As soon as you decide that God or the universe or goddess or whatever word you call your higher power is intervening and giving you a sign that it's just not meant to be, you are giving away your power, right? And you then start to do something different that isn't creating the thing that you want anymore, right? Or that isn't on track, right? So this person is off track. This person is like, oh, it's hard. I don't want to do it because it's hard. So I'm just going to make up this story that it's just not in the cards for me, that the universe has a different plan for me. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. So, and a lot of people think this way. A lot of people do this idea that things are just destined or fated to happen. Now, does that mean that there aren't things that we agree to before we come into this life? I think that there are. I think that we all have contracts we agree to coming into this life, ways that we're going to be in service, people that we're going to be in relationship with, lessons that we want to learn, things that we want to overcome. How we do that can take all kinds of different forms. How we do that is dictated by the choices we make every single day of our life. Every single one of us has the power of choice. So you have the power of choice. If you're choosing something, there's no God that's going to intervene and say, oh, wait a minute. No, don't do that. Do this over here. That's not how the universe works. What would be the purpose of giving you the power of choice if it was arbitrarily going to be taken away? Like, really think about that. There would be no purpose to having the power of choice if it could just then be like removed, right? That wouldn't be a real power. That would be a false power. You have free will. You have the power of choice. I want you to really hear this. If you don't pick a path and stick to it until you create it and link up in your brain that you are manifesting this particular path and that you have the power to do it, then you will not create it, period. So you have to stick with the things that you want until you learn it and until they are ready to come into form. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes with another one of the natural laws that's very important to remember, and it's one that we're all familiar with. So the moment things get too tough, the moment that you start to get mixed results, you will start to look for another way. You will start to say, I can't do this. I don't deserve this. This is too hard. It's not going to happen. I better find another way to do it. And that is the subconscious's mind way of keeping you off track and of keeping you where you are. So yesterday, I had a mortifying event happen. There was a film festival that I've had my eye on for a long time that I would like to premiere my film at. I've been working on this film for 15 years. Obviously, I care about this film. Obviously, I care about the trajectory of this film. I very much wanted to apply to this film festival. I went to put the application in yesterday, and I realized the deadline was Friday, and I missed it. I was mortified. I was just ready to cry. I was so upset with myself that I made that mistake. Now, I could have just gone into misery. I could have just gone into, oh, see, it's not going to happen. Oh, it wasn't meant to be because this big mistake happened and I really wanted it. So since this mistake happened, it must not be meant to be. I could have done all that. I could have engaged in that bullshit. I didn't. I said, okay, I'm not accepting this. I will not accept this. I wrote to them and I was very apologetic. I said, I took complete ownership of it. I said, this is 100% my fault. I take full responsibility for it. I am so sorry this happened. Would you please let us submit? I realize I'm asking you for an exception. I am so sorry that this has happened. Would you please let me submit? I didn't hear back from them. So today, I could have gone into the freak out again. I could have gone into the, oh my God, it's not happening. I've totally messed this up. It's over. It's not going to happen. This is a very big Los Angeles film festival. I live in Los Angeles. I want to premiere it here. And so I could have done that. But what did I do? I said, no, I'm still not taking no for an answer. I'm writing them again. I wrote them another plea. I called them yesterday. I didn't get anyone on the phone. Today I got somebody on the phone. She gave me a different, a more specific email. So I wrote to that email. I said, Daniel, I am so sorry this happened. Is there any way? You want to know what happened? He wrote me back probably within an hour and said, I'm so sorry. I meant to write you back yesterday. Yes, absolutely. We would love for you to submit. Here's the waiver code so that you can submit it. And we can't wait to see the film. So I give you this as just one everyday example of these are the kinds of things that stop people all the time. These are the kinds of things that, oh shoot, I'm sorry. Why are you seeing my script? I just saw this. Oops. Wait, half the slides. That's very weird. Hang on. This shouldn't be happening. So this is the kind of stuff that happens every day. This is the kind of stuff that happens every single day. Is this better? Tell me if this is better. Not if it's better, Gladys. You still see the script? Okay. Yeah, you shouldn't be seeing that. That's weird. So these are the things that happen every single day, that we get to make a choice. We get to choose how we're going to relate to it. Okay? So, and it requires that kind of resolve every single day. It requires that. We can't get into this, and I just was texting with this person before I got on with you. And I said, listen, I'm happy to talk to you about this. If you want this, you can source it, you can make this happen. Yeah, it's hard work. I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I want to have a business, but then like they don't think about like, yeah, you have to work for it. You have to actually really show the universe you are committed to whatever it is you're doing, whether it's a business or anything else. That's how that works. You are the source of this. So, so as soon as you look for the way out, you'll find a way out. You will find the way out as soon as you look for it. Okay, so Georgie asks, why does the subconscious want to prevent us from achieving our goals? The subconscious wants to keep you safe. Okay, we talked about this, I think, in class 1. The subconscious wants to keep you safe. What is safe to the subconscious is staying right where you are, right? Because anything that's not right where you are is unknown territory, and it's scary over there, right? Ooh, you might not be okay over there. That's how the subconscious mind goes. And many people live their lives that way. I'm sure we all have people in our world that live their lives that way, in so much fear, always playing it safe because they're so afraid to step out of their comfort zone and do something different. So every day we have to make decisions in service of what we really want, of what we're really here to create and to do. Krishna says, Georgie, I think because the subconscious wants us to stay safe and not get out of our comfort zone. Exactly. You answered it. It's all about the programming we receive from family, media, etc. when growing up. If we don't like that programming, we can change it. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for that, Krishna. That's perfect. Exactly. We're always looking for something that will make us feel more significant, make us feel more worthy, right? More lovable. And we have to understand that that is an inside job. It's never an outside job. It's not about having the fancy car, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the money, the prestige, the power, right? None of that is going to fill the gap for us until we do that inside job. And when we do that inside job, all that outside stuff doesn't rock us off our center. But if you're getting rocked off your center, like my friend that I was texting with, right, who is like, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. She had a terrible day. All these things didn't go right for her. And so she's going to let that move her off her center so far that she's like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. Well, she must not have been that committed to it if she could give it up that easy. Okay? So this is about when we do that inside work and we get very clear about our purpose, nothing is going to move us from that purpose, right? And this will allow us to come from a place of true freedom. Sometimes for the first time in our lives, when we're like, no, I really got this. Like, I'm really in the driver's seat here. I can make this happen. So let's talk about what makes us stop, right? All of us have a place where we stop, and you have to look at where you are in your process with whatever it is you're trying to create in your life and where you're stopping yourself. Because nothing outside of you is stopping you. You are stopping yourself, right? So again, today, I could have said, oh my gosh, it would be breaking a rule to ask for an exception. I can't do that. Like, I could have allowed that kind of thinking about like external ideas, rules, circumstances to control me and to think, oh my gosh. Or I could have just said like, oh, I just would be too embarrassed to admit that I made this mistake. A lot of people would have done that. They would have just said, I'm not going to admit it because I'm so embarrassed. And then they would have lost the opportunity, right? So you have to become aware of where you're stopping yourself. I wasn't going to allow that to stop me. I was going to keep going until I got a full-on no. And I was determined that I wasn't going to get a no. I didn't even engage it. Right? I had my moment of like mortification yesterday. I got some support from people from a group that I'm in where we support each other, much like this group can be supporting each other. And they were like, nope, we're going to source something else. And they all stood in that with me. You're sourcing this. You're going to make this happen. And it did. So we have to know where we are to get to where we want to go. Understanding precedes change. We have to understand what it is we're doing, and then we can shift into a new place. A lot of people are not going to make a change until they understand why they're making that change and maybe how they're making that change. So, as I have said, one of the biggest problems is that we get stuck on how it's going to happen, and because we can't see how, we decide that it can't, right? So I want you to remember that how your miracle is going to happen is not your job, right? That is the universe's job. It is their job to determine how it's going to happen. There are all kinds of forces none of us can see right now that could be contributing to the thing we want in our life. Your job is to set it into motion and to stay clearly focused on that goal, on that thing that you are creating, and to not allow the gremlins to get in there and make you think it won't. You can't waver. You decide that it's going to happen. You cannot waver on your decision about it, right? So you can never ask too big of the universe. This is an abundant universe. We have to remind ourselves of that. The desire that is in you for what it is that you want is coming from the same place, right? What you want is in the universe already, or you couldn't want it because the idea wouldn't even be there. So don't get into a trap here, right? When I say that you can never ask too big, some of you jump away from manifesting what you need and you go into manifesting something you've never even come close to before, right? You're like, okay, well then I'm going to make, $1 million, and maybe you've never made more than 60,000 a year, right? That might be too big of a jump. And it's not that it can't happen. It's that your mind won't be able to really hold the possibility long enough for it to happen, right? It can take you then away from manifesting the miracle that you want, right? So starting by manifesting your need and then going to manifesting your want is important for many of us. If you're not in a place of having the things that you need, then we have to start there, right? So to build on what we've been talking a little bit about around keeping your process private, one reason I say that is that when people make big breakthroughs, very often other people will tend to shy away from them. They'll judge them. They'll make them wrong, right? And sometimes they're doing this because they're seeing, oh, this person has broken through. They have accomplished something totally different. And now it's reflecting back to them how small their life has actually become. So we need to become keenly aware of that. The process that is happening is this. Outside circumstances are happening around us all the time, right? So we see them, right? Like my friend today, she's seeing these things going wrong. And so we see them and we judge them. And when we judge an outside circumstance, we move the barrier for us to break through closer. So let's look at this, right? So if over here on the left is the comfort zone, right? This is where we are. It's comfortable over here. We may not like it. It may not be where we want to be, but it's comfortable. And then over here on the right side is your goal, right? This is the success you want. This is the results you want. This is the love you want. This is the thing that you want to create. What happens is you start to move towards the thing that you want. And as you get closer, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? We talked about this. And before you know it, it's like we're standing up straight and tall, but there's this whole big wall in front of us, or that's surrounding us, that we can't break through, because that's all that we see. We see the barrier through our judgments. And so what happens? So that's the terror barrier. That's what we call the terror barrier. As you move closer to that goal, it gets bigger, it gets bigger, it gets bigger. And somewhere you're going to hit that terror barrier where it's like, oh my God, what's happened? What am I doing? Holy shit, right? I mean, I remember even when I got my first book deal, I hit a terror barrier then. I got the successful thing that I wanted, and I hit the terror barrier of like, oh my God, this is really happening. And I got paralyzed, right? I had to snap out of it because I had a book to write. But sometimes that even happens. We have the success, we have the thing that we want happen, and we hit that terror barrier, right? And so that's where we stop. That's where we sabotage ourselves. Sometimes people will sabotage their successes all up and down. It's like, oh my God, I got this amazing job, or the raise, or, or I found the perfect relationship, but now I'm totally sabotaging it. I'm totally screwing up at work because I don't think I deserve this job, or I feel like a fraud. I'm totally sabotaging the new relationship and picking fights and making sure that it fails, that it doesn't work, because I'm so terrified to allow myself to be loved, or because I think I don't deserve it. And so what happens? We stop and we turn around and we go back to the comfort zone. And when we do that, the terror barrier gets closer to us, right? So, if you take like a smoker, someone who has, if any of you have ever tried to quit smoking or quit anything that's hard, you know what I'm talking about. So it will get closer to the comfort zone. So then you set out again, right? So it's like, oh, I tried to quit smoking and then it got really hard. I hit my terror barrier and I went back. Okay, now I'm going to try again. So I'm going to set out again. I'm going to try again. You're going to hit the terror barrier sooner the next time. It's going to move up. So maybe you hit it here, and then you go back again, and then you start again, and then you'll hit it even closer, until what happens? You go back to your comfort zone, and you are literally at your terror barrier at the comfort zone, so you don't even try. Can I get a witness? Is this familiar to anyone? Have you been through this in your life? Most of us know exactly what this is like, because we've all done this. We've all done this with something in our lives. Something we're trying to achieve. Every time we try it, something comes up, something happens, something stops us, and then we just go back. And then we feel like we're starting at ground zero again, and we're doing it again, and we keep doing it, right? So you have to be able to break through the terror barrier. You have to be able to do that, right? And we think that the barrier is causing the problem because we're not supposed to see the barrier, right? We're just supposed to see what the terror barrier represents for us. So in my friend's case, who's trying to build a business, maybe the terror barrier for her is that she's afraid to be seen, that she's afraid to fail, that it's not going to look like what she thought it was going to look like. And so there's something in terms of her own acceptance of the process or of herself or what she's creating that she has to look at. In the case of someone who's trying to quit smoking, it could be all kinds of things. What does that terror barrier represent? It represents being a changed person. It represents that you have to do things differently. It represents that you have to show up differently. It might represent that you're doing what your parents wanted you to do that you never did, right? And you don't really want to do what they wanted you to do, right? So there's all kinds of things that terror barrier can be about. And so it's about looking at what is that, because it's eliciting emotions within you that are then stopping you. And so as you pay attention to the emotions you're experiencing, you can realize that the terror barrier isn't about what's being presented to you. It's about what's going on inside of you. And most people don't want to look at that because it has to do with pain. It represents pain in most instances. There is some kind of pain that's coming up. And so they look at that barrier and they say, the barrier is causing me to think what I'm thinking, right? We're not doing this consciously. This is subconscious. So then they go into a negative thinking about it. They project their anger, their sadness, whatever the emotion is that's going on. The lack, not having abundance, not being able to see how something's possible, whatever. And all that circumstance is projecting is what is going on inside of you. That's it. And so you get to choose how you're going to view it. And it might be things like your feelings of unworthiness, feeling that you can't do it for some reason, that you're not special, right? That you're not going to be able to do it the way everybody else can. So people will list things that prevent them from having a breakthrough. And a lot of times there's this need to be special going on inside of them. Well, it happens for other people, but not for me. That's a need to be special. And it becomes an excuse to not break through. Because if you break through, then you're just as able as everybody else. And there's no excuses, right? And so what a lot of people are going to do is cripple themselves with the negative thinking, create health problems, create relationship problems, have total overwhelm to avoid looking at what is really going on inside of them because they don't want to feel the pain. Georgie says it's not safe to change. If I change, they may judge it and it turns out to be a mistake, then they're going to be right. But being alive means we try things. Exactly. And the truth is that a lot of times we don't change because we're so afraid of how we're going to be judged. Well, if I get really wealthy and I drive a fancy car, my family's going to reject me. They're going to say, well, who does she think she is, right? I mean, a lot of people have this kind of stuff around success, whatever success looks like, right? So that discomfort increases in amplitude and vibration as we move down our process towards the goal, right? And that terror barrier is getting bigger the closer you get to it. And sometimes it feels so big and we don't know where the pain is going to stop. And we don't know when the success and the results are going to happen. And so we just turn back. That's how that goes for a lot of us, right? And so this is about changing, adapting, growing, and then doing that again, changing, adapting, growing. We have to just keep doing that, right? So right now, if you are freaking out, I want you to look right at that freak out, right in its face, and ask it what it's really about. Because it's not about the outside circumstances. The freak out that my friend is having is not about whatever went wrong today in her business, right? It's about what's inside of you, and it's about how you feel about you. And this is why you're here. This is why you're in this course, to break through all of the bullshit that tells you that you can't have it or do it or be it, whatever the thing is. You get to have and do and be the things that you desire. Will it work? Yes. And it works every time. It's law, right? This is some of the most important work you will ever do on yourself in your life, right? Because once you see how capable you are of creating the life you really want, you know that you can do anything and nothing will change your life more than that. So let's look at some other things that get in our way. So just looking at this image here, I want you all to look at the white triangle. So Gladys, I'm going to unmute you. Do you, oh no, I can't hear you though. So I'll unmute. Georgie, you're unmuted too.
Okay.
Are you looking at this? Can you see what I'm showing?
Yep,
Do you see the white triangle?
I do.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting because there is no white triangle.
It's what looks prominent.
Okay, so I want you to try to not see the white triangle now. Can you just unsee that and see that this is 3 black triangles. So I want you to not see that white triangle. Can you stop seeing it now?
It's difficult.
You're still seeing it?
It's difficult for me to fade it into the background.
Right, even though I've pointed out that this is actually a picture of 3 black triangles. You're still seeing the white triangle, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. So this is how our illusions work. This is how this works. So what happens is we have something in front of us, but we start to see something else because we get some doubt that starts to come in and say, oh, I don't know if this can happen. And then the fear starts to come in, oh no, this thing's gonna happen if I keep going, or if I don't do it, oh my God, all the fear starts to come in. And then the worry, right? And then we worry. Everybody knows this place, right? We've all been in this place where the doubt, the fear, and the worry take over. And they make it look like it's a white triangle when it's not a white triangle, right? I'm sorry, I don't have an image of this without this. If we took away the fear, the worry, and the doubt, you wouldn't see a white triangle anymore, would you? Right? You would see 3 black triangles. So this is what we do all the time. We're just white triangling everything. No, that over there is this thing, right? We create an illusion in our head that this thing was going on over here. This person doesn't like me, or, this business can't happen, or people like me don't get to have love, because like we create a whole story and illusion, and we believe it, and we stay connected to that illusion through our fear, our doubt, and our worry, right? So it's like, so even though the white triangle isn't there, our cells of recognition are seeing the white triangle, right? Because there could just even be a suggestion of it, right? So like take the example of an affair, right? Maybe, so say there's a woman, she's talking to her girlfriend, and her girlfriend's like, I don't know, your husband's acting weird. I wonder if he's having an affair. And maybe she's never even thought of that before, that could be the issue. But now all of a sudden, all she sees is signs of an affair. He must be having an affair. There must be a problem here. There must be something big, right? And so she's then going to start seeing signs of recognition, right? Of affair everywhere. And she could confront her partner, and he, or she could say, no, I'm not having an affair at all. And it could be the truth. But she's so convinced that that's what's happening because it was suggested, and now she can't unsee it, that she's stuck on this story. And then so what happens once we see the white triangle, we stop looking for another possibility. We don't allow ourselves to see another possibility. So she's decided it's an affair. That's what's happening. case closed. She's already like clearing out the bank accounts and just, making her move, right? I mean, we've all seen things like this happen, or they may have happened to you. So this is how the fear, the doubt, and the worry will impact you. They create the illusion that something isn't there or is there. And then you begin to just see that illusion and believe it to be true. And as you focus on the illusion, you make it more and more real. And then the circumstances follow that prove to you that it's real, right? Because you're in your head creating this all the time. And so then you're going to prove it to yourself. I mean, we all do this. This is self-fulfilling prophecy, where it's like, I'm so convinced this thing is happening that I'm going to find proof of it. And yet it's all created in your mind. Our subconscious mind is very, very wily. Very, very wily, right? When all along there was no affair, there's no white triangle here. It's an illusion. It's a thing that we're just seeing and convincing of ourselves. Georgie says that's not safe. Yeah. It's not safe. Yeah. I mean, well, and this also relates to our need to be right. I want to be right about the affair. I want to be right that this is the problem. Because if this is the problem, then it doesn't have to be that there's some other issue in my relationship I have to address. Right? So the question of where do you stop? Right? All of this is about awareness. And you don't ever lose what you are aware of how to do, right? Bringing money into your life is an awareness. Success in your life is all about awareness. So when you see a failure in someone, it can tell you where they chose to stop moving forward, right? If my friend decides to stop moving forward, it's very clear to see what's happening, right? When you see a success in someone, you can see where they chose to continue to move forward, regardless of what outside appearances in their life suggested could not be done. The outside appearance might suggest something can't be done, but it's the inside knowledge that you have that guides you in the direction you need to move in. So the moment you get mixed results or it gets hard, you stop and you look for another way. And the subconscious mind is keeping you off track, and it's constantly looking for the better, easier way. That's what the subconscious wants. This is the ego trap, right? And it is definitely an ego trap that the person that has a lower self-esteem is really programmed for, right? Because it doesn't believe it can do something that's harder or takes more perseverance or whatever. Always looking for the better, easier way, right? Nobody is in the position that they don't have the money or the abundance or the relationship or the sex life that they want. There's nothing that is inherently going to hold you back from that. You have a tremendous amount of potential, but the fact is that you don't believe it, right? So this is about looking at what illusions are holding you back. I can't afford it. Hear it all the time. I can't afford it. You have got to get that sentence out of your vocabulary. I don't want you to ever say that again. You can say, I'm choosing not to do this at this time. That's a much more powerful thing to say. You're honoring that you're making a choice. But to say I can't afford it, that just creates more not affording things. That is not what any of us are trying to create in our lives. I don't have enough time. Stop saying that. That's another illusion. This idea that I just can't make enough time, don't have enough time. No, you manage your time. It's up to you how you manage your time. We all have the same amount of time. So how are you going to maximize it? How are you going to make it count? People waste time so much all day long. This idea that I don't have enough time is also an idea that comes from lack. right? No one will want me. No one will pay me. No one will see me for who I really am. Fill in the blank, whatever. That's a victim story, right? Poor me. It's just not going to happen for me. And if you tell the universe that enough times, the universe says, okay, sure, we'll make sure that happens or doesn't happen, right? It's not possible to do in such a short time. We do this to ourselves all the time. It's not possible. I can't manage it for whatever the reason, whether it's time, whether it's money, resources, support, whatever. We give ourselves all kinds of stories about why things are not possible. No one in my family ever did that, right? Sometimes we really cling to our family story. But didn't there always have to be somebody first in the family to go to college, to, have a successful crop, to learn the piano, to be a business owner, to whatever, right? There's always somebody first in the family to leave the small town and go to the big city. That's just a bullshit excuse. And it comes from, a place of this is all we've seen and all we've experienced. And this goes back to the piece that we talked about earlier on around why some of us stay stuck, why it's harder, right? Why the systemic issues are impacting us on that internal level, right? Because is it true we live in a racist world? Yes. Is it true that we live in a classist world? Yes. Is it true that we live in a sexist world? Yes. Do all these systems work to keep status quos in place? Yes. Do we have to accept that and play by those rules? No. Right? So this is the difference. And so if we've never seen examples of it in our lives, it doesn't mean it's not possible for us. It just means we haven't seen it, and it might be harder to believe that it's true, that it's possible. And so it then becomes harder to break out of our circumstances. Impossible? No. You're just as capable of doing that as anyone else. Were things stacked against you maybe in a different way? I don't even want to say it that way because that makes it sound like we're victims, right? But were there circumstances in our families or in our culture, in our lives that might have impacted us differently? Absolutely. And there's a reason why that's the life we've chosen, and there are possibilities for us. Like us, so that person overcoming those odds, that's so much harder than somebody who had things given to them or had more resources, right? And so there's something even more powerful in somebody achieving against those odds. And that's why we love movies about these stories. We love to watch the underdog achieve something and win because we know that. And the truth is, all of us can do that. Karishma says, someone in the family needs to step up. Exactly. So why not it be you? Why not it be all of us? Right? To say, you know what? Maybe everybody in my family is poor. I'm not going to be poor. I'm making my life happen in a different way. I've known many people like that in my life that just said, the buck stops here, right? Or who grew up around a lot of violence, where that was what everyone had experienced, and maybe it was generations and generations, and they said, nope, violence stops here. It's not happening in my family. I'm not contributing to that. We're stopping that here. So there's always somebody that has to be that one that defies the odds and says, this is not going to happen, right? But what most of us, we have this story like, oh, if I'm from this kind of family, then this thing is going to happen. It's just destined, or if I do this, then this other thing will happen. Like we have all these stories, all these illusions about why we can't. So we need to start talking about how we can, why we can, right? And at the end of the day, that doubt, fear, and worry is all about, well, what if, what if, what if, what if, oh my gosh, what if my family rejects me? Oh my gosh, what if I really make all that money? Then people are going to want money from me. I mean, people will stop themselves from making money because they're afraid that people are going to want money from them. It's crazy. Like, you don't have the power of your no. You can say no. So what? Right? So we get into this what if, because then this thing's going to happen, or I'm going to lose this thing. Right? And I think underneath it all for a lot of people is, what if I fail? And I would just rather not even try it than to have the experience of failing. Right? I've gone through all this effort to get to just submit now to this film festival. I could have gone into the place of like, oh my God, but what if I get them to give me a waiver and then they don't accept me? That would just be too embarrassing. So I'm just not going to ask. I could have done that, right? A lot of people would do that. They would say, oh no, I can't handle what if I fail after I got special privilege, special exception, right? There's no guarantee I'm going to get in, right? But I got a shot at it. And if I didn't get a shot, I definitely wouldn't get in, right? So we can't let that fear of failure stop us. You can't allow fear and doubt and worry to control your thoughts and to squash your potential. And that is how many people live their lives. Stuck in all their fear, doubt, and worry, not achieving their potential because they're so stuck in that place. Right? And the truth is that nobody, as I said, is in the position that they don't have what they need. Right? What is true is that you don't have the sense of urgency to break through whatever you're afraid of in order to get it. So life is urgent. Life is now. Did you all hear about this big cruise ship? Almost sunk. They had to rescue like a couple hundred people from a cruise ship. They were just on vacation. They were just out vacationing, right? Life is now. There are no guarantees of tomorrow. So we need to get more urgent around our breakthroughs and to stop accepting complacency in ourselves. You can get the amount of money you want if your desire and your sense of urgency is strong enough. You will make it happen. You can create the relationship or sex life you really want if your desire and your sense of urgency is strong enough that you keep going and you work to create it. And you don't succumb to the fear, doubt, and worry that tells you you might not. So what we want to do is begin to raise our consciousness, right? I want to talk about what fuels your urgency, right? Which is a magnificent obsession. So what does that mean? There was a book that was written around 1929 by a minister named Lloyd C. Douglas. It was a best-selling book and it had a big impact on a lot of people. He defined magnificent obsession as this, right? It's two terms. Magnificent, characterized by splendor, grandeur, strikingly beautiful or impressive, right? And obsession is a persistent, disturbing preoccupation with an often unreasonable idea or feeling. So in our first class, we talked about the law of cause and effect. And we said that money is an effect. It's not the cause, right? So we have to keep that straight in our mind. When we are experiencing lack, we have to know that it's not a cause. When we're experiencing debt, it is not a cause. It is an effect. If you are getting sick, if you have other circumstances that are making you unhappy, those are all effects. You are the cause, right? So the reason this is good news is that you can change what the cause is in order to create the effect. And you can do it very rapidly. So there's generally one thing or one goal, right? That's really the magnificent obsession. That is the one prosperous, powerful idea that you are unbelievably passionate about, that you will give almost that every other goal in your life to do. It's the one that really breaks the door down and it propels you to a place of freedom. It's the thing you're willing to risk everything in your life for in order to experience. It's closely, if not directly, linked to the purpose of why you are here. We all have a purpose. We all have something we're here to do. So what is your magnificent obsession? Understand that all the problems you have in your life are actually gifts. They provide a solution to other people with a similar problem, right? We look at them as problems, then we're looking at them the wrong way. They're actually gifts. They're the things that are going to allow us to create the miracles in our life. So I don't care how horrendous, horrific, or tragic anything has been for you, there is a gift in those things that will allow you to experience your miracle. Because your problem becomes someone else's solution, right? I would not have chosen my career path, which really is my life's purpose. I would do it even if I didn't get paid for it, because I care about it and love it so much. It is my magnificent obsession to liberate people around their sexuality. That is my magnificent obsession. And so I had all kinds of struggles with my sexuality when I was younger, which led me to the path. So look inside of what your experience of life has been. Where have your greatest challenges and problems been? Because those are your greatest solutions. And they are the beginning of the magnificent obsession that will bring you everything you could possibly desire. Your magnificent obsession will get you out of bed and motivate you every single day. I am totally motivated to change how the world views and experiences sexuality. Every day I'm motivated by that magnificent obsession. So we all have one. And if you are not yet aware of what yours is, it's there. It's there. Know that it's there. Keep digging. What are you so passionate about, so driven about, so deeply connected to that you'll do whatever it takes to bring that into the world? So if you start to understand it from a different place, the changing, the shift, the making, the making it manifest part becomes easy. Understanding precedes change. So in a book by Robert Russell called You Too Can Be Prosperous, he says, they beg and besiege God for that which is already theirs. And this is so brilliant because if you think about how people pray, it's often how people are asking for what they want, right? You don't need to ask for what is already yours. This is a part of the problem. You need to command what is already yours. The difference between asking and commanding is vitally important in manifesting your miracles. He says we do more things to keep our prosperity away from us than we do to bring it to us. If we did not, we would demonstrate more prosperity on a regular basis. For it is really more difficult to keep good away than to bring it in. But almost constantly, we do things to put it out of our minds. We close our minds to prosperity. That is the reason we are not prosperous. We pray for prosperity, and then we tell ourselves it's impossible to be prosperous in all kinds of ways. Isn't that crazy? That's how most people are doing this. I can't afford this, right? Remember what he said. They beg and besiege God for what is already theirs, right? That is the promise of the universe. That's the promise of God, right? It says in the Bible, my children should never want for anything. It's not that you don't want something, but that you don't walk around having to want from a place of lack. And we limit ourselves when we come from that place, or when we say we can't afford something. We can't limit the universe. We can't limit God. That's a crazy idea. That is infinite intelligence. None of us can limit it, right? So we can't limit the source, but we can limit our own consciousness. We can limit how much of it comes to us. We can close it up real tight so we can't receive our own supply, right? We have to learn to receive it, and we don't need to achieve it, right? We are perfect just as we are. We have to receive it. We have to understand the laws by which we receive the good that we desire. People stay so alone in their relationships because they never learn how to really receive. So, cause and effect, manifestation. How this works, right, is I set the cause into action in the unmanifest, right? Then I bring prosperity, the effect, into manifestation. So the unmanifest is the cause side of everything. It is the spirit within who possesses all things. If there is nothing but God, the universe creator, and we are one with God, universe creator, then God, universe creator, gives itself to us freely. And if God, universe creator, is everything, then all things are ours. And every time we make a separation, every time we separate ourselves from the universe, from God, from creator, we are not receiving, we are blocking. We are blocking ourselves from the supply that is ours. So the first step in realizing the abundant supply is to know that you are one with spirit, with energy, with the universe, with God. And consequently, all things are yours. And that means everything: money, freedom, happiness, peace, health, wealth, abundance, more than you could ever ask or even think of having. So looking at your situation right now, are you expressing death instead of plenty? You have hold of the manifest end, right? If you're holding the manifest end, you're holding the wrong end. You have to hold the cause end. That's the part that comes from within you. That's yourself, your consciousness, and your decision. The way that you think, right? So who you be manifests through the abundant supply. It's who you're being from the inside out. Am I being someone who is abundant? Am I offering of myself freely? Am I complaining that I don't have enough time because that's not abundant? Am I saying I can't afford things because that's not abundant? If that's who you're being, you're not manifesting abundance. You're manifesting lack. Karishma says, commanding makes sense. Yeah, you command the universe. I declare that this is so. And you have to accept that it has been put into motion. Right? So if you're living in lack, there's a clear, glaring indication in your life that there's something you don't understand about what you're thinking, right? Or what you're believing. So I want you to think about this for a moment. We all have a radio of some kind in our homes, right? Or we used to have a radio in our homes. I guess it's a little different now, right? But you all understand the concept of a radio. right? With the dial knob, and you turn the station to, oh, do I want to hear country, or do I want to hear rock and roll, or do I want to hear hip hop, or, what station do I want to tune into? So you could take that radio and you could put it in your house right now, and you could realize as the radio sits in your home, if the knob is off, nothing's going to come in. Now, does that mean that there's nothing there? No, right? It just means the knob is off and nothing's coming through the speaker of the radio. But that radio has the potential for talk radio, news, weather, country, jazz, folk, rock, hip hop, everything under the sun. But you don't hear anything until you turn it on. Turning it on is not just the first part, right? Turning it on is kind of like stepping into the program with me that we're doing right now, right? You're turning it on and you're flipping the switch, right? But now you're going to tune the dial, right? So that's what we're trying to do in this class. We're tuning the dial. So if the dial is set to country and you want to listen to rock, you can wish and want all day long for rock, but you're going to hear country, right? And the crazy thing is that rock is in the same room as the country, just like the weather, the news, the traffic, the classical, and the jazz. They're all in the same room, but you don't hear it till you change the dial. And you don't change the dial until you become aware that you can change the dial. And then you have to make the decision that you're going to change the dial. And so the person who recognizes that the universe provides and understands the proper law for its manifestation will know the truth of the statement that all things that God hath are mine, right? He is going to see, or she is going to see, opportunities, success, happiness. And supply will flow into you from every side when you do that. So we've been working on changing your frequency, and your belief system controls how you think. That means that how you evaluate something, which is what controls your perception of how you see something, is very, very important. So what did not appear to be an opportunity before now appears to be an opportunity. Now, how many of you have recognized your opportunities? Some people are taking advantage of it and their miracle is happening. And for others, they're feeling stuck. It's not happening. They are allowing their circumstances to dictate what happens to them. Right? So if we go back a few thousand years at the story of Solomon, who became the richest man of his time, it's a brilliant lesson because Solomon had all these money miracles that you wouldn't even believe. How did he do that? He developed rich ideas that God had given him. Solomon was told that he could ask God for anything that he desired, that he could have asked for great wealth or power or influence, but he chose wisdom. He chose wisdom over the cause of his prosperity. Many people would ask for more money, right? Why do they do that? Because they don't have any. So they think that more money is the solution. But then what they're doing is they're asking from a place of lack. The money is the effect, right? Solomon, who was probably the wealthiest person of, maybe not of all time, but certainly of his time, he realized that wisdom was the thing to ask for. Now, this doesn't mean intelligence. This isn't about academic intelligence. That has nothing to do with this. The wisdom to be able to ask for the correct things and to see the right things is what makes the difference, right? Wealth came to him through, right? Not from. His wealth came to him through the Queen of Sheba, through the King of Tyre, and through others who sought to help him. right? It comes through people. Comes through people. And so he found riches flowing to him from every side because he was tuned into the idea that there was absolute bounty, right? He that has a bountiful eye shall be blessed, right? If you constantly look at things and say, I don't have it, I can't afford it, I can't do that, I don't know how I'm going to do it. If you're saying no to opportunities that show up, you're not even recognizing the prosperity that is there, right? And so when you're doing that, you're actually rationalizing in your mind because you don't know how it's going to happen, but you're doing the job of the universe when you do that. And you're not staying on track for what it is you're trying to create. We have to demonstrate prosperity. We have to come from that place. So if we recognize our spiritual inheritance and we act with the law, then nothing good is going to be held from us, right? This comes right back to the beauty and opulence discussion that we had last time. All of that will be ours. So that kind of prosperity comes through wisdom and understanding and asking the right questions. Now, earlier, when we were talking about manifestation, I told you I wanted to talk to you about one of the laws that we're very familiar with. Everyone is familiar with the law of gestation. We know it takes 9 months for a baby to grow inside of the womb and be ready to be birthed, right? Everything takes time to become evident. This is the law of gestation. Every seed has a gestation or incubation period. Ideas are like spiritual seeds, and they will move into form or physical results. Your goal will manifest when the time is right. Your job is to stay very focused on the fact that you have planted your seed, to water it, to give it the sunlight or air that it needs. But if you put a seed in the ground, you don't sit there doubting the seed, whether it's going to grow, right? You might keep looking with curiosity, like, oh, when's it going to pop up, right? Those little plants in this picture probably took a matter of a few days from seed to grow to where they were seen. So everything has a gestation. Everything. The things you're creating in your life have a gestation. And so it's very, very important that you stay focused on the fact that you've planted your seeds. But what most people do is they plant the seed and then they're like, okay, when's it going to happen? Oh no, it's not happening. Oh shit. Oh no, maybe it's not going to happen. Oh my gosh, it's not happening. I'm not going to get it. Oh no. Right? I could have done that yesterday. I could have given up. I could have said, oh man, when I didn't get an email today about the film festival, I could have just been like, see, I just blew it. I missed my opportunity. It's gone because I don't see it yet. But I declared that yesterday. I declared, oh no, they are going to make an exception. They are going to accept this from me. Right? But if I would have just gotten into all the doubt, the worry, the la la la, I would have completely gotten in my way and it wouldn't have happened. So everything has its gestation, and we have to remember that when we have planted seeds, and to keep watering the seed. We water it through our acts of abundance. We water it through continuing to take action in our life that tells the universe we really want it. Right? But if we start to go into the doubt, the fear, the worry, if we start to tell ourselves we can't have it, we can't afford it, we can't do it, whatever the reason is, then we start to get in the way and we interrupt the gestation that's happening. So we affirm the truth, and then our understanding has to carry it with an acceptance and a conviction. This is the urgency, right? We have to have the conviction. We can't live by the law by knowing it. We must really do it. We must really live it. And living the law is extremely profound. Just as it is to be able to accept a conviction of the eternal operation of that law, right? In other words, you're going to go by what the law says and not by what everybody else says. There will be people in your life that are going to say, oh, you want to do that? Oh, that's crazy. There's always going to be those people. And that's why sometimes we have to keep the things that are really important to us and close to our chest while we're in gestation. That's why a lot of artists, when they're working on a book or a new project or something, they're in gestation. They don't share about it. They don't talk about it. Some of you might know this pattern that many artists and creative people have, that you nurture that. You're in relationship with its becoming. And so you're not ready to share it with the world. So this isn't about what other people say. This is about you're going to demand with the universe. You're going to command the universe. These promises will be fulfilled. This is my birthright. I am claiming it. End of story. No but, no what if, no, oh, but, well, it can't happen because, right? No excuses. So we activate prosperity the same way we activate health and power, right? Being aware of that law of consciousness, being aware that the law exists, having an understanding of the law, the way the law works. If we didn't know that it took 9 months to have a baby, people would get really crazed, right? They'd be like, oh my God, it's totally not going to happen, right? Except that we do have signs of it. Right? But people would, if that didn't exist, we'd be like, oh my God, I'm never going to be pregnant. I'm never going to have a baby. Because it takes time. So faith is the power of conviction. It is the power to know, to create, to formulate, and to achieve, says Russell. The law of God is perfect. Right? And then people will say, well, then how can we account for all of the failures if that's true? And it's the same way that we account for all the successes. Both represent subjective trends in our thinking. And so when a person admits that he's a failure, he must also admit that he's the maker of the failure. There's no failure in the divine plan. Failure is self-made. It's self-created, right? So remember, we talked about taking 100% responsibility, right? Understanding that we are 100% source to manifest whatever the miracles are that we want to have in our lives. The universe is overflowing with abundance. It wants to give us abundance. So I want you to start looking at what have been the true gifts of your life, because those hold the wisdom to allow you to enact a cause that will reap the effect you want in your life. So right now, at this very moment, you are sitting in an enormous reservoir of abundance. Everything ever made in the universe exists in this reservoir. And it is subject to and responsive to what you say about it, what you think about it, and what you believe about it. And how you take action around it, right? So it's all of that alignment that we talked about in the earlier classes. So whatever you say it is what will be. If you say, I don't have it, I can't do it, I don't have enough time, that's what's going to be, right? So this is really about understanding the power that each and every one of us have. Every single one of us has that, right? And you always get what you need when you need it. You already have security. You may not be aware that you have it, but you do. And I'm not talking about security from your partner or your employer or a savings account. Those are false ideas of security. I'm talking about divine security, right? The universe supports you and gives you what you need when you need it. You have to receive it. You have to be open to it. You have to know that that divine security exists. So stop looking backwards, right? Step forward, be bold, be courageous. And stop needing to be right about it, because a lot of times we want to prove how right we were about that thing that we weren't going to get or that wasn't possible. And that completely holds us back. So in order to have or be or do something different, you have to do something different. You're not going to get something different by continuing to do the same thing you've always done. So really tapping into that magnificent obsession and allowing that real focus to happen is a way of harnessing power and harnessing the purpose of your life. And once you understand what that is and you move towards that, nothing will stop you. I have not wavered in 25 years from my magnificent obsession. I've done it in different ways. I've expressed it in different ways. I have not wavered from it. Every one of us has that. And so you don't need to know how it's going to happen, right? And success leaves clues, right? Life leaves clues for us. Everything in your life that you've experienced up to now has been absolutely essential for you to be who you are and to prepare you for where you're going. And not one thing could have been eliminated and have you be the same person that you are today. Like, really think about that. So being grateful for all of those things that have led you here is incredibly important, right? So I want to give you a tool to use when you look at opportunities that are coming into your life. Because the more clear you get about what you want and what your magnificent obsession is, and the more that you go for it, the more opportunities are going to show up. Abundance doesn't come as a check in the mail out of the blue. If you saw the movie The Secret, it made it look like that. That's not how abundance shows up. Abundance doesn't show up. It doesn't show up randomly. It comes to you in the form of opportunities that will get you where you want to go. And so as you open up and you get clear about where it is you're going and what it is you want, the opportunities that you need will show up, right? I want you to remember that the law of the universe is perfect. And so your job is to accept the opportunities that the universe sends you. And if you keep turning down the opportunities the universe sends you, the universe says, oh gosh, maybe we didn't hear that right. Maybe she does want to keep struggling. Gosh, we thought we heard her say more money. All right, well, let's give her more struggle, right? So you've got to recognize the opportunities when they show up and seize them. And so these are 4 questions to ask yourself when an opportunity shows up to decide if it's right for you. And these are on a handout that you have. So to see, is something worth pursuing? Ask yourself, number 1, is this something that I want to be, do, or have? Number 2, is being, doing, or having this taking me closer to my goal? Right? So we want to see yeses here. Is this something I want to be, do, or have? That one should be easy. Yeah, this is something I want. Okay, great. Is having that thing or being that thing or doing that thing going to get you closer to where you're going? Yeah, absolutely. Great. Number 3, is being, doing, or having this in alignment with universal law? In other words, will it bring more life to me and to those it touches? Yes, this thing will bring more life. And number 4, does being, doing, or having this violate the rights of others? In other words, does it take away another's right to choose? Does it take away someone else's freedom? So we should get a no there, right? So we should get 3 yeses and a no. So if you get those 3 yeses and a no, then it's a good opportunity for you. It's right for you. And so each time you say yes to an opportunity that is in alignment with what you are creating, you create more clarity with the universe, you create more commitment, and you create more focus on what you want, and you invite more of it into your life. And many of you can probably think of times in your life where you said yes to a thing, and then that led to all these other things, right? Many of us could think of times like that. Oh my gosh, if I hadn't have met that person, then all these other things wouldn't have happened. Or if I hadn't have gone on that trip, or if I hadn't have whatever, right? Gladys asks privately, sorry, I probably should have been to everyone. Do we always have the clarity to see what the universe is giving us? This is what it's about. This is about tuning the radio. This goes back to the radio piece. The more clear you get about exactly what it is you want, what exactly you are creating, what your magnificent obsession is, what it is you want to experience in your life, and who you really are, it gets easy. It gets very easy to know this is absolutely in alignment, right? Money comes through people, not from them. This is one other idea that I want to underline. And I think I've said this before. So I want you to really keep this clear. And this, again, is why money is so related to sex and relationships, because money is about relationship. Abundance comes through relationship in many forms, right? And again, this is why patterns in sex and money are going to look similar. So we get things through our relationships. We get things through the opportunities that show up that we say yes to or we say no to. And so we're either moving closer and into more clarity and alignment with the things that we want, or we're just getting distracted. We're allowing our subconscious mind to take us off track. We're getting stuck in our terror barrier and getting scared and then going back and saying no and not doing the thing, not taking the risk. Okay, so some things I want you to do this week. Number 1, I want you to write about what you are magnificently obsessed about, right? Many of you already know what this thing is. And if you don't, then spend some time meditating on the thing that most drives your soul in the world. And if you need to listen to this class a second time, please do so you can really zero in on this, because really knowing what that is gives you focus. So second, I want you to look at what is keeping you small. So I want you to make a list and start to address every single thing on that list. So first of all, make the list. What are all the things that are keeping me small? Right? Thoughts, habits, things in your environment, relationships, all of this should be examined very closely. And then this is about removing everything that keeps you small, disallowing it to have power over you. And then the third thing is to look your resistance square in the eye and to see it for what it is. So I want you to really look at, what does your terror barrier represent to you? And I want you to take this into meditation or quiet time and really ask the question, what does this barrier represent for me? And then wait for the answer. Be willing to really hear the answer. It might not be what you want to hear, but it is very, very important. Because if you can really identify this part, then you can disempower it so it doesn't have control over you. And so that you don't keep playing small any longer because you are agreeing with the terror barrier that's happening for you, rather than continuing to move towards your magnificent obsession. Okay? And then the fourth thing is that I want you to say yes to at least one opportunity that comes your way this week. Big or small, opportunities are coming towards us all the time. And if you are open to the opportunities, more and more of them will show up. Guaranteed. So I want you to say yes to at least one opportunity this week. So remember, you control your finances, your relationships, your health, your life. You are manifesting around those things all the time, whether you think you do or not. So this is about tuning into the right station. If you are not hearing what you need to hear, then you've got to change the dial. So you've got to get up, make the decision to change the dial. Well, these days, we can just do that with a remote, but you know what I mean. So really pay attention to what you're tuned into. What's the radio station that's playing? Right? And shift it. You've got to shift it. And that's why doing a lot of the, like meditations, listening to, ideas that keep us in abundance is helpful. When I can't sleep at night, that's what I do. If I'm just like, oh my God, I'm awake, I totally can't go back to sleep for a while. Okay, I'll get on and I'll turn on an Esther Hicks lecture, or I'll put on, a hypnosis or visualization meditation about something abundant, right? Something that I want to be tuned into. I'm always working with my mind, right? We all have to be doing that actively all the time. And it gets easier. Certain pieces get easier where we're like, oh no, I've got that. I totally know that seed is now planted and I'm not worried about it and it's coming. We get to a point where things do get easier. And the places where we get stuck, we need to keep nourishing that and really making sure we're listening to the right station. All right. Any comments or questions before we close out? All right. Thank you all very much. This has been a really rich class. I hope you got a lot out of it. I think this is one to listen to more than once. There's a lot here. So I think all of these classes, there's a lot. So, listen to them again. This is like really shifting mindsets that have kept us in a particular place we're shifting to a new place. We're tuning the dial. So, do you always post the recorded classes? Yep. They should be all posted. So I will get this one up sometime between today and tomorrow. I'm leaving for a women's retreat this weekend, so I'll make sure I get that up. And I can't wait to hear what you come up with. These assignments are important. So we're meeting the next 2 weeks, and then that will be the end of our class. So next week we have session 6 next Wednesday, and then the week after, we will do the final coaching call. So definitely want to be live on that. So I think the dates are the 3rd and the 10th. Okay. So good stuff. More good stuff to come. Have a wonderful week, everyone. If you want to unmute and say goodbye, you can. And I look forward to seeing you next week and hearing about your magnificent obsessions and what you came up with in these assignments. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can.
Oh, okay. I changed my headphones, so.
Good night. Thanks, Amy Jo.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So the next week is next lesson is in 2 weeks or next week?
Next week.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
Great.
See you then, everybody.
Thank you.